What's up, guys? Today on CDL Karen, I'm going to help you fight back against all of these companies and their fraudulent, coercive, illegal practices. Whether they're stealing your money, coercing you to violate hours of service, or run unsafe equipment, whatever the case may be, you have rights. Let's see what happens when we try to enforce them.
All right, guys. So we have an update from the CEO of Doge Trucking, Vadim. That's his name, Vadim. I didn't know his name last time, but yes, he actually commented on my video. In fact, he commented several times, but we'll get into that. But for those of you who are unfamiliar with Vadim and Doge Trucking, I did a video about him last week. So there was a situation with his company. Apparently, a driver that worked for him is accused of stealing his truck. He was arrested and he was in jail for 5 days. Now, a close friend of the driver actually emailed me and told me that basically the driver accuses Doge Trucking of withholding his paychecks, falsifying his logbooks, and having him drive fatigued. Now, this is a pattern that sounds all too familiar with Chicagoland trucking companies. Now, of course, I have a bias against these companies, and that's because of all the horror stories you hear on the internet every single day about how these companies treat the drivers.
Ooh, everybody wants to make that money, but they tell you don't work for the Russians. They're so scared. But yet, the Russians pay more than anybody else. Your checks will be higher for the Russians than anybody else. And first of all, none of them ain't Russians. They're either Lithuanian or Serbian or Ukrainian or something. I've never actually worked for a Russian company.
Everybody hear about the Russians. Everybody, I hear a lot of stuff about the Russians. I work for two different Russian companies, you know what I mean? So the first company was JDM. Then it was called Tempo Freight. Now they call Quavo. So they changed their name 3 times. All for them. It's cool. I moved on from them. Then I worked for this company called First Platinum Freight. It sounded good. 88%, 12. They get 12%. The truck 950. Okay, you know what I mean? Blah blah. Okay, cool. So my statements came in. My statements came in a few times, and I'm seeing $400.
Is it possible that there is a small minority of trucking companies out of Chicago, Illinois that may actually treat their drivers good? Is that possible? I'm sure it is. In fact, I know that one particular trucker on YouTube by the name of Black Heavyweight Trucker, shout out to you. He makes similar content, but he actually works for a Chicago-based trucking company. They're of Eastern European descent, and he claims that, they do everything by the books, and his experience with them has been mostly positive.
Anyway, I want to say that to the Russian companies that's listed, first of all, I drive for a W-2 company. It's total the opposite of everything that y'all are saying. It's W-2, everything included. The 1099, all the stuff that he's talking about he don't want to pay. The Russian company I work for, they do everything American legit. And they hire foreign drivers as long as they speak English. And they might hire, look, I don't know. I just know it's a different set of rules over here. You got to take all kinds of tests in orientation class. It's more mainstream than half the American trucking companies. That's first, and their maintenance is off the chain.
Now back to Vadim of Doge Trucking. Like I said, he left several comments on my video reiterating that his company is innocent in all of this and they abide by the laws and the FMCSA regulations 100%. And in fact, they say that the driver is 100% in the wrong and they have all the receipts, they have all the evidence to back this up. So maybe, just maybe, Vadim and Doge Trucking are actually in the very small minority of Chicagoland trucking companies that actually do right by the drivers and abide by the laws. But he made several comments on my video and he replied to others. And at this point, I'm just like, well, you know what, Vadim, I get it. You made it yourself abundantly clear. We understand that your company is good. You're one of the good guys. You did nothing wrong. You keep saying it. The more you keep saying it, the less I believe it, by the way. But you know what? You say that you're innocent. It is what it is. And my thing is, these Chicagoland trucking companies, like, they have such a big influence on trucking. They have a large social media presence. I mean, Doge Trucking has, 300,000 subscribers. Yeah, these people are very sensitive, in my opinion. Like, I just found the whole thing fascinating. Now, I wish I would have took a screenshot of this, but Lockout Man is another channel on YouTube that does these expose videos about Chicagoland trucking companies, particularly Super Ego. And he had an exchange, like message. He was exchanging messages with a super ego representative, and basically the super ego rep was very triggered, and he sent him some very nasty messages. It may have been some racial slurs in there too, but like I said, I don't have the screenshot, and because he posts very frequently on his community tab, after a while the post disappears. So you're just gonna have to take my word for it. I don't have access to it, but hey, if you're watching this, Lockout Man, shout out to you. Feel free to email me the screenshots. But yes, Vadim, not only did he leave a bunch of comments on my last video, he actually had some paid shills leave a bunch of comments on my video. I'm just playing, y'all. In all seriousness, I appreciate the people that left comments debunking my video. Your comments are very much appreciated, but there is this one particular comment that was left ironically, and it was in Russian, and basically what she told me was I shouldn't use AI to translate these videos from Russian to English, but because she left her comment in Russian, I had to use AI to translate the comment from Russian to English.
In America, the law dictates the rules. No one can break it. Judging by the fact that the Doge Trucking team recorded everything on camera, video, and photos, and immediately contacted the police, we can conclude that the company acted according to the law, and the driver clearly violated it. As someone who speaks Russian, I advise not to translate such videos using artificial intelligence. Your translation is completely incorrect. You can use AI to translate a joke or a funny video, but not a video on this topic. Translate with precision for English-speaking viewers. You have distorted the situation and unfortunately are misleading your 6,000 subscribers. Please try to translate accurately if you create this.
Now, I get that, the AI translated videos may not be 100% accurate, but in my opinion, it's pretty damn close. And if it wasn't accurate at all, then tell me why Vadim from Doge Trucking, when he left his comment, bullet point by bullet point, you see that, essentially everything he said was a summary of what he said in the videos. So what was inaccurate about it? I know it's not 100% perfect, of course, but what was inaccurate? In fact, I think that when he leaves comments, he actually uses AI to help him write the comments. And there's nothing wrong with that, of course, because, I feel like everybody should use AI. They should use ChatGPT, whatever type of resource they need to use that involves AI, because it essentially makes life easier. It's very much a very useful resource for news and information. Now, as for whether or not it's going to replace us someday, well, that's a video for another day. Now, moving on, I do want to cover a story by this other YouTube trucker by the name of Party Hard Trucking and Traveling, also known as PH. Now, I don't know much about him. I do know that he's been in the industry for almost 10 years, a very long time, and he's actually been with the Chicagoland trucking companies for a while as well. And also, PH, Party Hard Trucking, and that's actually a very creative YouTube handle. I wish I had, a creative YouTube channel name. I mean, I'm just Taja. I'm just me, I'm just a boring Gen Z trucker over here. But anyways, I digress. Now, like I said, he's been working for these Chicagoland carriers, and the company that he works for, I'm not sure if he works there anymore given the situation that just unfolded recently, but he actually works for Korol Trucking, which is the same company that Chasing Andrew Jackson used to work for, but Andrew was actually a company driver. Andrew was actually a company driver for Korol Trucking, while PH is a lease driver for that same company. And Korol Trucking appears to be just like all the scummy trucking companies out of the Chicagoland area. And like I said, CAJ used to work there for about a month and a half. So let's just take a look at his experience at Korol Trucking.
The Russians cleaned my paycheck out. My last, it was not supposed to be my last paycheck, but they were going to clean me out anyway, gave me $100. Y'all remember that $200 EFS check? Remember they wanted me to go save a driver? They gave me the EFS check. And what do you think the settlement said when I got it Friday, or Wednesday, I should say? But see, I'm not surprised because y'all ain't seen the videos. But in reality, every check that I got, they owed me money on it. They owed me money from the previous check. It's like, bro, how y'all do this? Every week y'all gotta wait to shorten my check. You either not putting loads on there, or either, the number that's on here ain't 32%.
So as I mentioned, PH is a lease driver at Korol Trucking, and as his YouTube channel name implies, trucking and traveling, he likes to travel. And while he was on vacation, PH's paycheck had deductions on it that were just so egregious that he had no paycheck at all. And this isn't the first time this happened either. In a live stream, he pretty much airs out his frustrations and his financial struggles with Korol Trucking.
They took my money again. Yo, listen, they charged me $550. Guess what? They said I brought the truck back with less fuel and depth than they gave it to me with. Man, come on with that bullshit, bro. They just making up shit. They charged me for a whole week of having the truck, even though I only had it 5 days. We're gonna play my money like that, man. You did this shit again. But either you give my mother money, I'm gonna put out your company with your DOT name, and I'm gonna send that shit to DOT, and I'm gonna send them the phone number on how you fix the logs at your spot. You wanna with me? I got a video recorded when my logs fixed. I got footage on it. I got plenty of videos of fixing my logs with my e-log, how it get fixed and everything. Now you wanna with me, nigga? I'll knock your dick in the dirt. Now you with me. Now you steal my money, I'm gonna show you something. I guarantee I'm gonna walk your shit into the DOT office and show them a video of how the fuck you fix them logs and give them your DOT number and every motherfucking number you got.
Now, as you guys can see from those clips, Korol Trucking most definitely took advantage of PH multiple times, and it's just sad because based on what I've observed from PH, like I said, I don't know much about him, but he pretty much works his ass off, and you kind of have to when you're dealing with these Chicagoland trucking companies.
Oh, I got all my motherfucking bills. I got bills on me right now. I got bills. Oh yeah, I got bills on me. Shit, I got bills. We cooking niggas. Yo, run my money. I need to check tomorrow my money. Run my money, man. Listen, if my money ain't ran, DOT will have everything by 3 o'clock this afternoon, man. Fuck all that, man. Run my motherfucking money, man. I'm not playing. I don't give a fuck what you talking about. Suck my Russian nigga. Come out of Ukraine so I can lie your ass. Come on out of here. I don't care about none of that, bitch. I don't care about none of that. Run my motherfucking money. Second time you stole my shit. I ain't playing that, man. Keep stealing my fucking money. $500. You returned the fuel. You returned it with less fuel than you took it with, bro. If you don't run my money, stop playing with me.
But the thing about it is, even when you work your ass off with these Chicagoland carriers, there's still no guarantee. I don't know why my voice keeps breaking up. There's still no guarantee that you're gonna get a paycheck. And I'm not sure why he keeps going back there, because he keeps mentioning how they keep stealing his checks. But hey, we'll get to that actually. But yeah, all this just really goes back to what Andrew said about the company. The deductions are 100% random. The paychecks are never right. The math never maths. And it's like, no matter how meticulous you do the calculations, it never adds up. Now, he also mentions in the live stream that he wants to recover his funds and actually get DOT involved. Now, despite saying this on the live stream, the video that he releases the next day pretty much backtracks all of that, and it appears that he changed his mind.
It just pisses me off. But one thing about this, companies have always stole escrows. Companies have always stole money from me. But one thing I've done, I kept my head to the grind and I kept pushing. So it's really no point in me to do anything and deviate from that course. They took the money, it's gone. Not getting it back. That's the end of it.
He just appears to have a very defeatist mindset, in my opinion. And he just, essentially threw in the towel. So, Korol Trucking is going to get away with it once again. There is a way to stop companies like Korol Trucking. And Andrew actually was on the right track when he was trying to get his escrow back. He could have actually shut the company down. So let's just take a look at the letter that he actually sent to Korol Trucking, and let's just take a look at what it says right here. He says, I hereby demand the payment of $1,990, which is the escrow, within 30 calendar days of the date of this letter. If I do not receive full payment by this time, I will pursue the following actions. File a wage claim with the Illinois Department of Labor under Illinois Wage Payment and Collection Act. File IRS Form SS8, that's important, for formal worker misclassification review. Submit a complaint with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. Pursue a lawsuit in Illinois Small Claims Court for recovery of these funds. Now, he revealed in a recent video that this letter was actually generated by ChatGPT.
It done already proved itself to me, so ain't nobody got it. Drivers, you ain't got to convince me AI is not real. It's just Google search. Google search can't give me $1,800 back from the Russians. I don't know. What am I going to Google? What do I type in on Google to get that same letter that AI gave me to send to the Russians? What do I type? You let me know. What do I type? Because ChatGPT wrote the whole letter. Told me the address to send it to, what steps to take, wrote the whole letter. Y'all thought I wrote it. No, I didn't write it. ChatGPT. I took a free app, $1,800.
So yeah, like I said in the beginning of the video, I think AI is very advantageous, and I feel like everybody should use it as a resource for news, information, advice, etc. Now, this letter that Andrew sent was so impactful that Korol Trucking actually folded and sent him his money back, all $1,990, $2,000 of his money. Now, like I said, in the letter, he mentions about filing form with the IRS SS8, and that's a form that reviews worker classification or misclassification rather. Now, Korol Trucking not only hires lease drivers, but they also hire company drivers. Now, the way they get away with hiring company drivers as 1099 contractors is that they have them sign a $0 a week lease agreement, whatever that means.
Driving. Okay, cool. So how was orientation? So one thing I noticed, they make everybody sign lease agreements. The lease drivers, the only difference between the lease drivers' lease agreements and my lease agreement was the amount of the truck and the amount of the trailer. For example, just like any other lease agreement, you agree to pay $700 a week, $1,000 a week. For the trailer, it's X amount of dollars a week. They sign those type of leases. My lease, you know what it said? I agree to pay $0 for the truck a week, $0 for the trailer a week. They just wrote out a $0 lease. Is it legal? It is legal because I got the exact same lease. Matter of fact, for all of my trucks, if my lease is legal in order to get license plates from the state, their lease is legal when you go to court and try to sue them for this tax money. Do you think, you're supposed to be W-2 work, all that? No, they got the game figured all the way out for you.
Now, within the contract, they actually prohibit drivers from operating on certain toll roads, like the PA Turnpike, for example. And those are very, very specific rules if you're a contractor. But in reality, said contractor is not actually a contractor. They're an employee. You can't tell a contractor where to operate, how to do their job, because at the end of the day, that means they're just misclassified. And I want to segue to CDL Karen from TikTok because she actually has a lot of experience with these companies out of Chicago. She's very knowledgeable of how they operate, how they exploit and mistreat and even misclassify truck drivers. So I highly encourage everybody to check her out on TikTok. I can try to put the link to her TikTok handle in the description box down below. But she essentially breaks down how you essentially cannot be a 1099 company driver. And in fact, you can pretty much make an argument that companies like Korol Trucking are committing tax evasion.
Whether they're stealing your money, coercing you to violate hours of service, or run unsafe equipment, whatever the case may be, you have rights. Let's see what happens when we try to enforce them. We're going to start with IRS Form SS8. This is a determination of worker status. What does worker status mean? It's whether you were a 1099 or a W-2. See, just because the company told you that you were a 1099 and just because you agreed to be a 1099 does not mean that you were a 1099. The best way to determine whether or not you are a 1099 is to file this form with the IRS, because most often, if you drive a truck that belongs to a company and they had you sign an independent contractor agreement, they cannot bind you to that agreement because you are not truly, by legal definition, a 1099. Provide all the information that you can. Total number of workers who performed or are performing the same or similar services. Basically, if they have 20 drivers and they're all on 1099, every single one of their drivers, they're misclassifying all of you. This is a really big deal because it's tax evasion. They're avoiding paying payroll taxes and their fair share, which is the cost of operating a business in America. You know why I say America? Because this mainly happens with foreign-owned companies. It is expanding now into American-owned companies, some of these bad practices as the market gets worse. But we know that these are mainly Eastern European, Indian, Asian companies, whether it's California or Illinois, where these practices are more prevalent.
Now, PH was on the right track in that live stream when he said that he was going to go after these companies for mistreating him, for withholding his money, for stealing his money. He was on the right track. Why did he change his mind the next day? And my thing is, he works very hard. If you're watching this, PH, you work very hard for the money, even though I'd argue it's not that much money.
That comes out to $1.48 per mile. This is drive-in, by the way.
But still, you work very hard for the $1.40 a mile that you average. And maybe if he is watching this video, maybe we planted a seed in his head to use ChatGPT to generate that well-thoughtful letter that Andrew generated and ship it off to Korol Trucking out of Chicago, Illinois, and threaten to file a SS8 form, because a form like that is actually very ruinous. $10,000 of a penalty per misclassified employee, that can potentially shut that company down. And given that the company is already struggling, they make all these egregious arbitrary deductions, they can't get a paycheck right, they can't get anything right, maybe that's what can actually shut the company down after all. But hey, if you guys are out there and you work for a company like Korol Trucking, and most of them are the same pretty much, then maybe this is the secret sauce for you to actually expose this company and shut them down, because these are essentially your rights. And I feel like these Chicago companies, they know that you have rights as an American, which is probably why trucking CEOs like Mr. Gala prefer not to hire American truck drivers, because they're not as easy to exploit. But some people are just in the dark overall that are American that do work for these trucking companies. And unfortunately, they're banking on the fact that you won't use your rights and you won't fight for what is right. As long as this channel is active, I will keep exposing the shenanigans and the corruption in this industry. And now I want to hear from you. Do you believe that Doge Trucking is one of the only law-abiding Chicagoland trucking companies? Do you think that PH should actually go after Korol Trucking? Have you been misclassified by these carriers as a 1099 contractor? Let me know in the comments down below. You guys are the best audience on the internet. If you enjoy content like this, hit the like button, comment, rate, share, and subscribe. I'm Tadra Woods, and I'll see you next time.